Welcome to the Portage Health Foundation podcast. My name is Michael Babcock. I am the host of this podcast, and today we are joined by Charmaine and John Parsons from the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music. We're talking about them as one of our partners for Giving Tuesday this year. They're one of our 18 partners, and we are matching up to $200,000 in donations to them as a part of this whole Giving Tuesday movement, which is now international and a very cool thing. But what else is really cool is the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music, and I'm really excited to hear from you guys to talk about what an amazing organization that is. So I'm going to start with you, John. Tell me a little bit about what this organization is and what it does.
Well, in a nutshell, it's an organization that aims to help kids, school-age kids primarily, and even at times the community at large. But it's a program where we fund after-school music programs for kids. That's one of our primary purposes, and we also do some outdoor education with students in the area. Like, for instance, we had students out to learn about gardening, and we had students out making apple cider, and a number of projects like that to kind of get the idea of the things that you can do in the natural world, and sort of being stewards a little bit of the natural world. But primarily our music lessons is right now our biggest focus because of the pandemic.
Right. I love that combination of things. They're both very arts focused in ways, but they're also really mental health focused. I know gardening can really make a difference for a lot of people, and same with music with that. So, Charmaine, I'll move to you for this next question here. What made you guys start this? You know, it's obviously the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music. Tell me a little bit about what happened at the start of this to make you guys get going with this.
Well, I think it was back in 2007 that Graham, our son, who's a musician, his partner, Dan Schmitt, was killed in an auto accident. And he was on the cusp of moving down to Kalamazoo to live with Graham, and they were going to continue in their musical adventure together. And it just sort of shook us all to the core, not only our family, but our farm block family. And we were all together and began to say, what are we going to do? How are we going to heal? How are we going to heal from this tragedy? His life was, I think he was just 21, or I think he had just turned 20, or can't remember. But so we decided to let's do Farm Block Fest. And so we put together, and it was a community,
a neighborhood
effort, and we put together a music festival. Graham had a lot of music connections already, and then we raised some money, not very much. We only always raise a couple $1,000, and then we're like, what are we going to do with this money? Well, let's give it back to Keweenaw Crayons, who was a nonprofit at the time, who actually helped Graham and Dan get their start with music and performing, and gave them a studio space back when the Horizons Alternative School was housed by Keweenaw Crayons. So we just kept giving the money to Keweenaw Crayons, and they would figure out the art lessons or music lessons. And then a few years down the road, when it became clear that the needs were changing of the community, and it was advised that we start our own nonprofit, which we did do. And from that point on, 2013 is when it started. And that sort of brings you up to the present day. We continue to be passionate about music. And I think the reason John and I got into the gardening and the outdoor ed part of it is because we can't really teach piano or guitar or violin. So we said, what can we bring to them? And we garden and we raise all our food organically, and we have this beautiful farm, and we make maple syrup. And we said, well, let's work with a local school. So we started working with Horizons, primarily the alternative ed school, because their schedule's a little more flexible. And then I partnered with a fourth grade and a fifth grade class at the elementary school in Calumet. So that's what John and I can bring. And I think it's been a successful program over the years. So.
And also too, Mike, I just thought about that while I was listening to Charmaine talk about the program and how it evolved as far as the outdoor ed kind of stuff too. We realize that's something that a lot of kids don't have a window on, or don't have a connection to it all. And, there's a lot to learn in life, of course. And I think, the outdoors and appreciation of the outdoors is is really important, and kids love it. They just love it. So
And Michael, getting back to your comment about how important that is, I guess that's one reason why I'm so grateful to the Portage Health Foundation, because we don't fit in a real clear cut category. How are we helping kids? It's not, you can't measure it. You can't, but I do know when kids come out here, they're so happy. They're digging in the ground. They've never done it. They're planting. I want to start a garden this year.
picking
So
apples.
yeah, so I think those aren't tangible things, but I guess throughout my whole career being an elementary teacher, you can't measure what's planted inside a child. But so that's why I'm grateful that we've been accepted into the Portage Health Foundation's Giving Tuesday, because we know what we're doing, but it's not a tangible, you can't measure it, you know.
Plus, and I'll
Yeah,
let it go after this, but plus, Charmaine and I were both educators our whole life. We were both teachers for our career. So we felt like we had a real good connection in being able to help teach kids.
Yeah, and it's interesting that that combination of education, which is one of the important pillars to the Portage Health Foundation, as well as that outdoor, especially food. It's one thing to garden for flowers
Right.
now, which is beautiful and wonderful in a lot of ways, but that food element is something we're really pushing, and we really hope that students start to learn that again, because it's one of those things that's kind of been lost through generations. You look at 100 years
Yeah.
ago, and it was very normal for you learn about how to do a good garden. And 50 years ago, it's still probably pretty normal for everybody to know how to do a garden, and know that it's important. You just do a garden. That's part of your life, is you do a garden. And that's really kind of gone away. And you go to a place like Horizons or Calumet School, any school, and there's just the amount of students who actually know how to do a garden and even really understand the basics of it is so much less. And I know when we talked about, you guys, last year was your first year in our Giving Tuesday program, and you guys brought in $6,700, which is phenomenal. We were really excited about that, because you guys are doing something that fits just perfectly inside of our mission and what we're trying to accomplish. So I hope the community gets a chance to hear this and know that music is a gift, but also food is a gift. And having you guys take your interests and take that motivation of what started you, and evolve it. I think, and I don't know, Dan, I wasn't, it's not somebody that I got to meet at all. But I have to imagine that he would look down at this and smile, knowing that it's evolved from one passion to another passion, and those things tie together in a lot of ways that can really help you guys heal, which it sounds like it's been a part of your process, but others can find that healing from the things that they're going through on a day-to-day basis. And I do want to, like, last year I met with you guys, and it was a ton of fun. If you go to our Instagram page, PHF Give is our username there. You'll be able to watch some of the stories. If you go into the highlights area of our profile, you'll be able to see some of the highlights of what we did last year when I went to visit with you guys. And also, if you go to our Facebook or YouTube channel, you can find a video when we talked about the Dan Schmitt Gift music quite a bit in similar ways to this, but it was just a different discussion. As it was really an introduction of me to what you guys do, even though I was very familiar from the Farm Block Fest, which is just an amazing event. I cannot wait to get back there next year. And we'll go back and talk about that later in this conversation here. But my next question for you, and I guess maybe we'll go to John here. You guys are doing this work, and you don't have to. And I don't know where you guys are at in your own healing processes, but you guys don't have to do this. It's all volunteer, and you guys are continuing to do it. What keeps you motivated to keep going with the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music?
Well, I guess the the main and most important reason is because we think it's important. We think it has value for kids. And again, I think that a lot of that comes from the fact that we were both teachers our entire career, and we value that. We value kids and kids having new experiences. It's important.
And I think we have an easy way with kids. We both really like being around kids, and
Right.
so like when they come here, they feel they're relaxed and they're at home. So I guess that's why we keep doing it. Sometimes we wonder why we keep doing it, because it's a bit of work, but our whole family is involved in one way or another, and we have an incredible board that contributes as they can. But it's definitely difficult. But we're both retired. We have this farm to give kids, and we have an incredible partner with the Calumet Art Center. And and two incredible musicians that are instructors. We're so blessed. I mean, if we didn't have them, we couldn't do the program. But it just keeps. I don't know. Sometimes, Michael, I think is it serendipity? Is it because we're doing good work that things continue to progress and continue to work? I think that's part of it. I think we're sort of, I'm going to say it, divinely guided. So, it's not, we don't get any benefit. We don't, other than we just keep
the
going.
Satisfaction. And
Yeah,
the good feeling.
We just keep going.
Right,
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah.
Kids are just awful fun to work with. They just really are,
And they need a lot. They need a lot.
And I look at
That's it.
especially music as music seems to be an under-resourced thing in our community up here. There are opportunities, but in some ways you really have to search for them. So having people like you guys to help, shepherd that into the mainstream, at least in the schools you guys are able to work with, I think is really beneficial.
Can I read you a couple comments? Just that I asked a couple of our parents. So our lessons quit in March, this past March, and then they started up again in July. And then I asked the parents whose children, I said, tell me what it was like for them to come back to the music. And one woman, now Jenna's been in our program the longest, going on 5 years, and her mom said, my daughter's self-esteem and confidence has grown so much. A year ago, when she wanted to play the banjo but was concerned about switching instruments, through our instructor, John Snyder's guidance, she gained the confidence to try. And then she goes on to say, I have heard my daughter play loud and hard when she was angry, soft and tentatively when sad. So those are her comments as a parent. And then our youngest, Matthew, who's 7, his dad wrote, we saw music as a way for him to relax after school and take his mind off of the daily issues, and this worked. To this day, whenever Matthew picks up a guitar, it always improves his mood, which is especially important in these difficult times. So those are words coming from parents of our students that were able to start. We started back just slowly in the fall, and then now we've got 17 students that are receiving free piano or guitar lessons. So that's why we're doing it, Michael. So
yeah, I'd love to hear those quotes, because I do believe that what you're saying is everybody needs their outlet to get through this stuff. And for those kids, what helps them, make sense of the world is playing music. And the fact you guys are able to make that happen for them is wonderful. That's my next question. I would love to hear both of you kind of give some perspective on this, and I'll start with you, John. Tell me what's when you think back to your time, with the organization, what are you most proud of? What's your greatest success story from your perspective?
Oh boy, our greatest success story. Well, I guess I keep coming back to the same thing, but I sort of feel that my best connection to it is the outdoor work that we do with kids, the outside stuff. I like that the most. Charmaine is her work with the music programs is incredible. I just have really enjoyed it. Like I remember one time we went to met with students at the Horizons Alternative School, and we're talking with them about programs and things. And then we were just like brainstorming about things that they would like to learn about outside and stuff. And I said, what about fly fishing? Any of you guys ever fly fish? And they were all like, what? I'd love to learn how to do that. And so on the back burner, we had this idea, because we have a pond, and now there's starting to be, it looks like perhaps a few fish that we could catch via fly fishing. And so that's like something in the future I'd like to try and do. But just those kinds of things where you work with kids and their eyes light up, and even like making apple cider. They'd never done it before, and giving them that first cup of fresh made apple cider and say, here, try this. And the look on their face, it's just really cool. So I guess those are a couple things.
And how about you,
for
Charmaine?
me, and for me, I this past I've developed a garden season where I'm actually one of the things I didn't like was just like a one shot where you'd bring kids out to the farm and they had no connection to the whole season of the garden. So I put together a garden season where I was actually we had the students out to the farm 4 times once a season, and now we would have to start in the fall because they can't come in the summer when the garden's in full bloom. But there's a lot that happens in the fall, and we had them harvesting potatoes and carrots, and then subsequently like back to the farm in October to collect apples and press cider, and then just the whole garden, like planning the garden and how we do it. And then actually in the spring we would have them come out and do a little bit of planting. So that's been important to me, and that's been a success, but it certainly is interrupted now. We made it through 2019, we started in 2020, and then now of course everything is canceled with the schools. So I guess that's the thing that I'm most proud of, is getting that whole garden season, not just a lot of times kids do field trips and it's just a one shot deal, but to watch something progress over the year is important to me, and I feel really good about that. And if the weather's
Yeah.
bad, I go into the classroom and bring it into the classroom. We start seeds in the classroom, and so I feel good about that.
I just had one other memory here as I was just thinking back on things, and we had one of our youngest gift of music students. What was his first name?
Matthew.
Matthew, yeah. He we asked him if they would like to perhaps perform at Farm Block Fest, and he played a song at Farm Block Fest, and it was he's up on stage, this little guy, and he was very good, very confident, and it was just that was a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's on our Dan Schmitt Gift of Music YouTube page. It's so sweet. And our great hope was that Matthew could come back subsequent years. Of course, we had a virtual festival this last year, but perhaps next summer, if we can have it, we'll have him come back. So
hopefully.
Yeah, that was pretty special. That was really special, actually. So good memory.
Yeah.
That's such a neat element that you can bring that the youth of our area into that music festival. And for those who've never heard of this music festival, go look online for Farm Block Festival. It is it's definitely one of the best gems, hidden gems of our community up here, because just the music that comes for that weekend is absolutely incredible, and it is such an amazing atmosphere around it too. Being out on the farm like that and the beautiful pond right there. It's I have just my picture on my LinkedIn is still a photo I took one day out there with the lights, because it was just so gorgeous, and it's really you yearn for those moments to go sit out there. The next thing I want to talk about is how COVID affected you guys. You guys have hinted at it a little bit, and I want to look at it from two different perspectives. The first, I'd like to talk about programming and what's been affected there, and then go into what it's meant for you guys financially. So I don't know who would be better to talk about each of those elements, but I'd like to try to separate those things. What did you guys have to do differently this year, and then what did it mean financially?
We'll start with Farm Block Fest. It is one of our major fundraisers, and back last, I think it was January or February, as he's out there in the music scene, and as a board, we all met, and he said, I don't think we can do it. It's not looking good. And some festivals started to cancel. And then one board member just posed the question, well, if we totally let it drop, that won't be good either. Is there some way we can do it virtually? So then Graham, who's our executive director of our nonprofit, he undertook the task, and we put on a virtual festival, which is also available free now on the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music YouTube page. It is unbelievable what happened here. There were a total of 12 people, all very, very respectful, and stayed outside, and they put together a festival. The cool thing about the virtual festival is Graham started with Charlie Millard, who did all the videography, they started by coming over the Mackinac Bridge and then making their way through the Keweenaw and then through Calumet. And so I think what they were doing was giving people the whole, this is what happens when you go to Farm Block Fest. It was just amazing, the footage that they have in there. And then we were able to open the festival like we normally did. John, myself, and Graham opened the festival, and then he had all these different bands that submitted their set and became part of the virtual festival. I really don't know how they pulled it off, but they did. And again, they were passionate about it. We did receive a grant from the MCACA, which is great, and they agreed that we could use it towards the virtual fest. We certainly didn't make any money this year, but it was good. We're still out there. We put together t-shirts and people were able to order them. And I guess we still, again, we're so passionate about it that it had to happen. So that's impacted us as far as money raised. But that's okay. We don't do it to make money. It doesn't seem like it, but I do think things are working out.
And you asked about how the pandemic has affected us, and certainly that creating the virtual festival, that was a good effect because it came out of, but having to cancel Farm Block Fest was really hard. Because like you walk around and all the things you see around the farm, like the stage, all the things that we usually are preparing and getting ready. Well, we didn't do that, so it just sort of sat for a year, which was weird. I mean, it was just kind of went right along with this pandemic. They kind of fit together as you looked around and thought about all the good times at various places and things that we do. So that was a big effect. And our outdoor education program has really suffered because, you can't bring a group of kids out. School's barely in session, and how, we just can't really do those kind of things where we would gather in a group and make cider or we work in the garden. So that way it's been greatly affected.
Yeah.
The music program, well,
the other thing too, Mike, at our virtual fest, we were able to do a garden walk like we normally do every year. So that's one workshop. The music festival is much more than music. We have so many different workshops, things that people can heal through, life skills. And so it's kind of cool if you go to, I think it's on Sunday, we do our garden walk, and we did it again, and it's out there for people to learn from. And I actually I had these garden journals and coloring books that I ordered from a seed company, and one person emailed me and said, I'd love to receive these. It's a garden planning workbook. So I felt really good about that too. So then as far as our music programming in the schools or after school, it's been a little bit tricky. We're following protocols. The Calumet Arts Center has the same protocols, very safe with mask wearing, and we have sanitizing wipes. Our instructors wipe their surfaces down and the piano keys, and had to think about what can you put on piano keys. There's only certain things. So I think that most people are following those rules. That we did have a few students whose parents said, nope, I don't want my child wearing a mask. And we said, okay, that's all right, but I loved that the Calumet Arts Center sort of set the guidelines, and I believe in them as well. So, I was up there last week and I watched 4 different kids have their music lessons, and it was great, Mike. So we've been affected in that way. But it's still happening, and it will continue to happen until it, like right now, my instructors feel safe and the parents feel safe. So we're going to just keep moving forward and until something changes there. So I think it's important.
Excellent. Well, I love to hear the success of everybody, putting their work into it and making the very best of these situations, because even though it was virtual, it wasn't the usual thing and all that, it still happened, and it still, saw people, getting more introduced to music and living whatever normal they can, which is something a lot of these organizations have done. But as listeners are able to hear from this, it's definitely been tough on the Dan Schmitt Gift Music, like it has been on many of these nonprofits, and they could definitely use your support. So if you're out there and you can make a donation to these organizations, please do it. It's you can make that donation at phfgive.org/givingtuesday. You can do it online. Make sure you select Dan Schmitt Gift of Music when you're making your donation online, or you can mail it to us. Our address is 400 Quincy Street in Hancock. It needs to come in by the December 1st, so needs to be postmarked that day. Sorry. So as long as you have a postmark that day, we'll still count it towards the match. Make sure you write that check out to Portage Health Foundation in the memo line, or just do it with a separate note. Just make sure you mention it needs to go to the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music so that we know who the funds should go to. And we are matching up to $200,000 in community donations this year. Again, last year, the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music received $7,000. I'd love to see all of you out there listening to this, or to make it so we get a bigger amount this year. Help them make 2021 even better, because that's what we need to do. We need to make 2021 a year that's going to make all of this pain in 2020 maybe seem worth it, because we're going to be hopefully better off on the other side of it. And then my last question for you guys is, how can people support your organization? Aside from the donation on Giving Tuesday, how can they follow you? How can they, spread the word about the work you guys do?
Well, we have we are at dsgiftofmusic.org. That's our website. We have a Facebook presence under the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music. I think those are the only two ways that people can follow us. So yeah. And again, we're very, very grateful for this opportunity, and hope that we get supported even more than last year. So we're very, very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
Yeah, thank you guys. And for listeners out there, you can find Portage Health Foundation anywhere. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter. You can listen to this podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts: Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartMedia, all of those places. Make sure you subscribe to us, listen to us, find us on YouTube. We're happy to tell the impressive stories of our community, and we're always focused on improving the health of our community, which is exactly what the Dan Schmitt Gift of Music is doing. If you want to support them on Giving Tuesday, you can donate at phfgive.org/givingtuesday. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michael. Bye.